Welcome to Basic Electrical Engineering. In this lecture, we will discuss about the torque versus slip characteristics of three-phase induction motor. But before we start, first of all, we have to discuss about the other parameters of the rotor. For example, frequency, induced EMF, current, power factor. Then only we can derive the torque equation. As we have already discussed, the EMF induced in the rotor winding because of the rotating magnetic field, which is produced in the stator, and according to the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction, the EMF induced in the rotor winding, and then the current starts to flow. Therefore, the force is developed, and finally, the torque is produced. We have also discussed that the speed of the rotor, the direction of the rotor is in the same as that of the rotating magnetic field. So when the rotor is rotating, the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor changes. Therefore, the parameters of the rotor circuit, that is the frequency, induced EMF, current, power factor, this all depends upon the speed of the rotor. Or specifically, we can say this all depends upon the slip. So there will be two conditions of the induction motor. One is the standstill condition and another is the running condition. We have also discussed that the operating principle of the three-phase induction motor is same as that of the transformer as long as the rotor is not rotating. So during the standstill condition, we can find the rotor parameters by using the concept of the transformer. But as the rotor is rotating, the slip is produced, then the parameters of the rotor will be depend upon the slip. So let's start. So first of all, we will discuss about the frequency of the rotor current and EMF that is induced in the rotor circuit. The frequency of a voltage or current induced due to the relative speed between the conductor and the magnetic field, which is given by the formula F is equal to P into N upon 120. This is the general equation of the frequency, or we can say it is the relations between the frequency, the speed, and the number of pole of the machine, of any AC machine, where P is the number of pole in stator, N is the speed of the rotor, therefore F is the frequency of the EMF which is induced in the circuit. So here N is the relative speed between the magnetic field and the conductor, and P is the number of pole. For a rotor speed Nr, the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor is considered as the slip speed, and that is equal to Ns minus Nr, where Ns is the synchronous speed that we have already discussed. Ns is equal to 120 F upon P. It is also derived from this relation, that is F is equal to Pn upon 120. Consequently, the rotor current or the voltage frequency F dash, that is during the running condition, it can be written as F dash is equal to Ns minus Nr into P upon 120. Because when the rotor is at running condition, as we say, the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor speed is Ns minus Nr. Therefore, in the frequency equation, instead of N, we can put Ns minus Nr. P is the number of pole upon 120. So here F dash is the frequency of the rotor induced EMF or current during running condition. Now, from the equation of the slip, we see that S is equal to Ns minus Nr upon Ns. So we can write Ns minus Nr is equal to S into Ns. Therefore, instead of Ns minus Nr, here we write S into Ns into P upon 120. Now, if we consider this part, then it will be equal to the supply frequency because we already discussed the Ns is equal to 120 F upon P. So from this relation, we can write F is equal to P into Ns upon 120. So this part beneath the bracket, we can write F instead of this part. Therefore, the frequency of the rotor current or the rotor EMF will be the fractional slip into the supply frequency. That is, F dash will be equal to S into F. Now, when the rotor is at standstill condition or at the stationary condition, that means the value of NR is equal to 0. So from the slip relation, we can see that it is Ns minus Nr upon Ns. So if Nr is equal to 0 at starting, therefore the value of slip will be equal to Ns upon Ns and it will be equal to 1. Therefore the frequency of the rotor current will be same as that of the supply frequency, because from this relation we can write F dash is equal to S into F, and at standstill condition S is equal to 1. Therefore the frequency of the rotor induced EMF and current will be equal to the supply frequency. Now as the rotor pick up the speed, the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor decreases. Consequently, the slip and hence the rotor current frequency also decreases. So as the value of the slip is decreases because it is Ns minus Nr, when the speed of the Nr will be increasing, therefore the value of slip will be decreasing. And as the value of slip is decreasing, so from this relation we can say the frequency of the rotor induced EMF or current will also be reduced. When the slip is reduced, the frequency will also be reduced. Here we have to note that the relative speed between the rotating field and the stator winding is equal to Ns minus 0. As the rotating magnetic field cuts the stator conductors also, therefore an EMF will be induced in the stator winding also. But here the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the stator winding is equal to Ns. Therefore, the frequency of the induced current or voltage in the stator winding will be equal to F, and it will be equal to Ns into P upon 120, and that is nothing but the supply frequency. So the EMF which is induced in the stator winding, their frequency will be same as that of the supply frequency. Now the rotor EMF. When the rotor of a three-phase induction motor is at standstill condition, the motor is equivalent to a three-phase transformer with secondary short circuited, because the operating principle of the transformer and the uh, three-phase induction motor is same. So during standstill condition, the three-phase induction motor will be considered just like a transformer. So when the rotor is stationary, the slip is equal to 1. Therefore, the frequency of the rotor EMF is same as that of the stator supply frequency that we have already discussed. So the value of the EMF induced in the rotor at standstill is maximum because the relative speed between the rotor and the rotating magnetic field is maximum. As we know, the EMF induced in the rotor is based on the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction. So the rate of change of flux define what will be the magnitude of the induced EMF. As during the standstill condition, the relative speed between the rotor and the rotating magnetic field is maximum. That is equal to Ns. So the slip is equal to 1 because slip is equal to Ns minus Nr upon Ns. So as the slip is maximum, therefore the EMF induced in the rotor will also be maximum because the value of d phi by dt will be maximum in this case. the rate of change of flux that cut the conductor during standstill condition is maximum. So the induced EMF per phase in rotor, which is defined as E2, when it is at standstill condition, at the instant of the starting, it can be given as E2 is equal to E1 into N2 by 1. This relation we have obtained from the transformation ratio in case of transformer. We have already discussed in case of transformer, the transformation ratio is induced EMF in the secondary upon induced EMF in the primary, and it will be equal to the number of turn in the secondary upon the number of turn in primary. Here primary means the stator circuit and the secondary means the rotor circuit. Therefore, the EMF induced in the rotor circuit during standstill condition can be easily find out by using this relation, where E1 is the supply voltage to the stator winding per phase. And N1 and N2 are the number of turns per phase in stator and in rotor respectively. N1 is the number of turns in stator per phase and N2 is the number of turns in rotor per phase. Now, when the rotor starts running, the relative speed between the rotor and the rotating magnetic field, which is produced in the stator, decreased. And the slip is also decreased because we already know the relation of the slip, that is ns minus nr upon ns. So when nr is increasing, s will be decreasing. Therefore, the rotor induced EMF, which is directly proportional to the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor, will also reduce. It will also be decreased. Hence, for a slip S, the rotor induced EMF will be the S times of the induced EMF that is developed in the standstill condition. So it can be written as the EMF induced in the rotor circuit during running condition, it will be equal to S into E2. This is the EMF induced in running condition. EMF in running condition. It will be the factor of the slip, where E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor at standstill condition and S is the slip of the rotor. It depends upon the speed of the rotor. As the speed is increased, the slip will be reduced. Therefore, the EMF induced in the rotor will also be reduced. Next, discuss about the rotor current and the power factor. Here, a simple circuit is shown, that is the circuit of the rotor per phase, where E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor during standstill condition and I2 is the current flowing through the rotor circuit per phase. R2 and X2 are the rotor winding resistance and reactance per phase. So consider the standstill condition. That means when the slip is equal to 1. Remember, the slip is ns minus nr upon ns, where ns is the synchronous speed, which is represented by 120 f upon p, and nr is the speed of the rotor. As during the standstill condition, nr is equal to 0, therefore slip will be equal to 1. Let R2 is the resistance of the rotor winding per phase. L2 is the inductance of the rotor circuit per phase, and E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor per phase during standstill condition. That can be easily find out by using the transformation ratio that we have already seen. Let's say F is the frequency of the supply, and at standstill condition, it will be also the frequency of the induced EMF in the rotor circuit. Therefore, the rotor winding reactance per phase can be calculated by 2 pi f L2. X2 is the rotor winding reactance at standstill condition. It depends upon the supply frequency. And the rotor winding impedance per phase, that is Z2, It can be calculated by using the impedance formula, that is square root of R2 square plus X2 square, rotor winding resistance and rotor winding reactance at standstill condition. So the rotor current per phase can be calculated by the induced EMF in the rotor per phase upon the impedance of the rotor per phase, that is E2 upon square root of R2 square plus X2 square. And also the power factor of the rotor circuit can be calculated as R2 upon Z2. So here it is the power factor of the rotor circuit during standstill condition. So these are the parameters of the rotor circuit per phase when the machine is at a standstill condition. That means the power supply is already given to the stator winding, the rotating magnetic field is produced, and this rotating magnetic field cuts the rotor conductors, and EMF is already induced in the rotor winding, and current starts flowing. So in this condition, these are the parameters of the rotor circuit. Now consider the running condition. So during running condition, when the slip is equal to 1, so here the slip is not equal to 0. Here slip will be equal depending upon the speed of the rotor. If the speed of the rotor is very high, then the value of the slip will be very low. So you can easily calculate by using this formula. So as we have already discussed earlier, during the running condition, the induced EMF in the rotor per phase is the factor of the slip. So S into E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor per phase. Again, the resistance R2, it is the resistance of the rotor winding per phase. It does not depend upon the slip or the rotation of the machine. So it is a constant parameter. Similarly, L2, that is the inductance of the rotor winding per phase, also the constant. But the frequency of the rotor induced EMF is now the factor of the slip, which can be represented as F dash, and that will be equal to S into F. So this is the frequency of the induced EMF in the rotor circuit during running condition. So the reactance per phase can be now calculated as X2 dash, and it will depend upon the frequency F dash. Frequency F dash can be represented by S into F. If we take S and 2 pi FL2 within the bracket, then finally we'll get the reactance of the rotor circuit per phase during running condition, and it will be equal to S into X2. So here we can see that the reactance of the rotor per phase during running condition is also the factor of slip, that is S, where X2 is the reactance of the rotor circuit per phase during the standstill condition. And remember, X2 is a constant parameter. It is constant, but X2 that depends upon the slip. So the rotor winding impedance, it will also depends upon the slip. So here it will be the impedance per phase. Here the slip is in the reactance circuit. So it will be square root of R2 square plus S square X2 square. This is the impedance of the rotor circuit per phase during the running condition. Here the resistance is constant, but the reactance, which is depends upon the slip. Now the current. The rotor current is now calculated by induced EMF in the rotor per phase upon the impedance of the rotor per phase during running condition. And during running condition, both values depends upon the slip. So here it will be the current S into E2 upon square root of R2 square plus S square X2 square. And the power factor will also be depend upon the slip. So the power factor will be here R2 upon square root of R2 square plus S square X2 square. So these are the parameters of the rotor circuit per phase during the running condition. And here each and every parameter depends upon the slip, and slip depend upon the speed of the rotor. As the speed increases, the slip will be decreased. Therefore, these values will also be changes. So here it is the per phase circuit of the rotor, the equivalent circuit of the rotor at running condition. It is shown here. S into E2 is the induced EMF per phase R2 is the rotor winding resistance, constant parameter. X2 dash is the reactance per phase in the rotor circuit during running condition. Again, it is the factor of slip. And here, this is the current of the rotor circuit during running condition. Now, the rotor torque, the torque that is developed in the rotor circuit. In case of DC motor, we have already, if we recall the DC motor, there we have seen that the torque equation, that is the torque developed in the armature, is proportional to flux into armature current. Flux, which is produced because of the power supply to the field winding, that is the stator winding, and IA is the current, armature current, which is flowing through the rotor circuit or the armature winding. So here the torque is proportional to flux into armature current. Similarly, the torque produced by three-phase induction motor will also depend upon the following factors. First is the magnitude of the rotor current, that is the, we can say, the armature current. Second, the flux which interact with this rotor of the three-phase induction motor, and it is responsible for producing EMF in the rotor part of the induction motor. That means the rotating magnetic field which is produced in the stator. And the power factor of the rotor of the three-phase induction motor, because in case of DC there is no concept of the power factor, but in case of AC machine, that is a three-phase induction motor, the current which is flowing through the rotor circuit, there will be some power factor in the rotor winding. Therefore, the torque will also be depends upon the power factor, which is the part of the rotor circuit. Now, combining all these factors, we will get the equation of the torque of a three-phase induction motor as T is proportional to phi into I2 into cos phi 2, where phi is the rotating magnetic field, I2 is the current flowing through the rotor winding, and cos phi 2 is the power factor of the rotor winding. So here it is discussed. T is the torque produced in the induction motor, phi is the flux, rotating magnetic field which is responsible for producing the induced EMF, I2 is the rotor current, and cos phi 2 is the power factor of the rotor circuit. Now the flux produced by the stator, it is proportional to the stator EMF, that is E1, because the magnetic field which is produced in the stator winding, it depends upon the current flowing in each and every phase, and the current flowing through the three-phase stator winding depends upon the supply voltage. So if the supply voltage is more current will flow through the uh, phases of the stator winding, therefore more magnetic field will be produced. So you can say the magnetic field produced in the stator winding is directly proportional to the power supplied to the stator. That means the EMF which is given to the stator winding. And from the transformation ratio, that is K, it is defined as the ratio of the secondary voltage to that of the primary voltage. We already discussed the three-phase induction motor is also like a transformer. So the transformation ratio is E2 by E1, that is N2 by N1, and it is represented by a constant, that is K. So we can write E2 is equal to K into E1, where E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor winding per phase. E1 is the supply voltage in the stator winding per phase, and K is the transformation ratio. So now from these two relation, where phi is proportional to E1 and E2 is equal to K into E1, we can write the induced EMF in the rotor winding per phase is proportional to the magnetic field which is produced in the stator winding. That is, E2 is proportional to phi. E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor circuit per phase, and phi is the magnetic field produced in the stator winding because of the three-phase power supply. Therefore, now the torque equation can be modified we can write the torque equation is E2, it is proportional to E2 into I2 into cos phi 2. Because as we have already discussed, E2 is proportional to phi, or you can say phi is proportional to E2. Therefore, the torque equation can be written as E2I2 cos phi 2, or it can be written as some constant K into E2I2 cos phi 2. Here K is some proportionality constant. So the rotor torque can be represented as T is equal to K E2I2 cos phi 2. Now we have already seen that the rotor winding current during the running condition I2 and the power factor cos phi 2, these two are the factor of the slip. So here it is the value of the rotor winding current per phase, and this is the power factor. So now put these two values in the torque equation. So torque will be equal to K into A2 into, instead of I2 we put S E2 upon square root of R2 square plus S square X2 square into, instead of power factor we put R2 upon square root of R2 square plus S square X2 square. So after simplification, finally we'll get the torque equation of a three-phase induction motor as T is equal to K S R2 E2 square upon R2 square plus S square X2 square. Here K is the proportionality constant, S is the slip of the induction motor, R2 is the rotor winding resistance, E2 is the induced EMF in the rotor per phase during standstill condition, X2 is the rotor winding reactance per phase in standstill condition. So in this torque equation, each and every value is constant except the slip, and slip depends upon the speed of the rotor, because we already know that slip is equal to ns minus nr upon ns. So the slip value depends upon the speed of the rotor. Therefore, the torque is also depends upon the speed of the rotor. Now, the starting torque. At start, the rotor is stationary. Therefore, the slip value will be equal to 1. That we can easily find out from the slip relation. It is ns minus nr upon ns. During starting condition, nr will be equal to 0. Therefore, slip will be equal to ns upon ns, and that will be equal to 1. So in this general torque equation of the three-phase induction motor, if we put the value of slip is equal to 1, it will give us the starting torque. So the starting torque will be equal to K R2 E2 square upon R2 square plus X2 square. Here we put the value of S equal to 1 in the general torque equation. So this is the starting torque of a three-phase induction motor. Now the maximum torque. The torque of a three-phase induction motor we have already discussed. It is given by Ks R2 E2 square upon R2 square plus S square X2 square. Here each and every value is constant except slip. Therefore, the condition for maximum torque will be dt upon ds should be equal to 0, because all other values are constant. So if we differentiate the torque with respect to the slip, and if the value is equal to 0, it will give us the condition for the maximum torque. So let's differentiate. So it will be dt upon ds, that is d upon ds, within bracket the entire value of the torque. Here K, R2 and E2 square is a constant. So we take it out from the bracket. So it will be d upon ds S upon R2 square plus S square X2 square. So differentiate the numerator and denominator, and after simplification in step by step, finally we'll get this value. So in the numerator, it is r2 square minus a square x2 square. Now, if the maximum torque, the condition for the maximum torque is dt upon ds equal to 0, therefore the numerator value should be equal to 0. That means r2 square minus a square x2 square should be equal to 0. So further simplify, so s2 s square will be equal to r2 square upon x2 square, and finally s will be equal to r2 upon x2. Remember, slip cannot be negative, so we will ignore the negative value. So the condition for maximum torque is the slip should be equal to r2 upon x2. That is, when the value of the slip is equal to r2 upon x2, we will get the maximum torque from the three-phase induction motor. Now, if we want to get the maximum starting torque, because there are some applications where the maximum torque is required during the starting condition. As we have already discussed, the slip is ns minus nr upon ns, and at starting condition nr is equal to 0, so slip will be equal to 1. And here the condition for maximum torque is slip will be equal to r2 upon x2. Therefore, the condition for maximum starting torque will be s, that is r2 upon x2, should be equal to 1. Finally, r2 should be equal to x2. That means if the rotor winding resistance per phase is equal to rotor winding reactance per phase of standstill condition, we will get the maximum starting torque. Remember one thing, in general, the rotor winding resistance is much less than the reactance. That means R2 is much less than reactance. So in squirrel cage induction motor, it is not possible to add or increase the rotor winding resistance. Therefore, the starting torque of the squirrel cage induction motor is low. Whereas in case of slip ring induction motor, we can add some external resistance to the rotor circuit so that R2 can be equal to X2. So in case of slip ring induction motor, by adding external resistance, we can achieve the maximum starting torque. And when the rotor achieves some speed, then these external resistances are disconnected from the circuit. That we have already discussed during the operating principle. Now, the value of the maximum torque. This is the general torque equation that we have already discussed, and this is the condition for the maximum torque. That is, the value of slip should be equal to R2 upon X2. So if we put the value of S in this torque equation, it will give us the value of the maximum torque. So here we put the value of S in the torque equation. So after simplification, we will get the value of the maximum torque. Here we can see that the maximum torque does not depend upon the rotor winding resistance, but the condition for maximum torque depends upon the rotor winding resistance. So here this is the maximum torque of the three-phase induction motor. It is K A2 square upon 2 into X2. Now torque versus slip characteristics. As we have already discussed, the general torque equation of a three-phase induction motor is T is Ks R2 E2 square upon R2 square plus S square X2 square. So what happened? During the low slip region, because we all know that slip is equal to Ns minus Nr upon Ns. So when the speed of the rotor is very high, it is almost equal to the synchronous speed, the value of the slip will be very low. Now, when the speed of the rotor is equal to ns, although it is not possible, but if we consider the speed of the rotor is equal to ns, then the slip will be equal to 0. Therefore, from this torque equation, we can say the torque will also be equal to 0. So in the torque versus slip characteristics, where torque is in the y-axis and slip is in the x-axis, it starts from the origin, because when slip equal to 0, torque will also be equal to 0. And when the speed is near to the synchronous speed, that means the speed of the rotor is very high, it is almost equal to ns. Therefore, slip will be very low. So in the denominator, the s square x2 square will be much less than r2 square. Therefore, we can ignore the parameter, that is s square x2 square, compared to the value of r2 square. And hence, the torque will be now proportional to slip only, because in the numerator there is s, and if we ignore the second part of the denominator, then we can say the torque is directly proportional to the slip. Therefore, torque versus slip characteristics will be a straight line. So it is shown by this line. This is for the low slip region. Now for the medium slip region, when the speed of the rotor is little bit lower, the slip will be little bit high. Then the speed of the motor is also decreased with the increase of the load. Now the term s square x2 square becomes a little bit high. So up now we cannot ignore this value with respect to the value of r2 square. So here, if the value of s square x2 square is greater, then r2 square can be neglected compared to the value of s square x2 square. As a result, now the torque can be considered as proportional to 1 upon s. And if the torque is proportional to 1 upon s in the higher region, higher slip region, then the nature of the torque versus slip characteristics will be the rectangular hyperbola. So it is shown by this side. Now in the high slip region, beyond the maximum torque point, here it is a maximum torque point. That means the slip for the maximum torque, here the slip is equal to R2 upon X2. So in this point we will get the maximum torque. And beyond this point, the torque starts decreasing. As a result, the motor slow down and finally it will stop. At this stage, the overload protection must be immediately disconnect the motor from the supply to prevent any damage due to the overheating of the motor. The motor operates between S and S equal to 0 and S equal to Sm, where Sm is the value of the slip corresponding to the maximum torque. As we already discussed, the value of slip is, the range of the slip is 0 to 1. When Nr is equal to 0, slip will be 1, and when Nr is equal to Ns, slip will be 0. Therefore, the slip varies from 0 to 1, or we can say from 1 to 0. When slip is equal to 1, it is considered as the starting condition. So here, this point shows the starting condition, and corresponding torque is considered as the starting torque. We have already seen the formula of the starting torque, where T will be equal to K R2 A2 square by R2 square plus X2 square. This is the starting torque. So here, when the value of S equal to 1, we will get the starting torque. Here it is the maximum torque region. This line is maximum torque. Remember one thing, for a particular three-phase induction motor, the maximum torque is always constant. And the rotor, the motor basically operates between S equal to 0 and S equal to Sm region. That means the motor will always operate in this region. So you can say this is the operating region. This is the operating region. For typical induction motor, the pull-out torque, that is the maximum torque, is around 2 to 3 times of the rated full load torque. This is the concept of the three-phase induction motor. Here the maximum torque is 2 to 3 times of the rated full load torque. And the starting torque is around 1.5 times of the rated full load torque. So this is the general concept of the three-phase induction motor, general value of the torque of a three-phase induction motor. Here we can see that in this torque equation, let's discuss in details. So this is the same figure, the torque versus slip characteristics. Here we can see that different torque versus slip characteristics are shown here. This is basically for different type of rotor winding resistance. When the rotor winding resistance is equal to rotor winding reactance, that is R2 equal to X2, this is the condition for maximum torque. This is the condition for maximum starting torque, because S equal to 1 is the condition for the starting. This is the starting condition value of slip, and here S equal to 0. So this point shows when R2 is equal to X2, we'll get the maximum starting torque. But if the rotor winding resistance is less than R2, let's say R23, it is lower than the value of R2, so here the maximum torque is in this point. If the rotor winding resistance is further reduced, that is for R22 or for R21, the maximum torque will be shifted. That means we will get the maximum torque after the rotor starts to rotate, and depending upon this resistance, we will get the maximum torque for a particular point. In all the cases, the torque will be maximum when the value of slip will be equal to R2 upon X2. So here the different torque versus slip characteristics are shown for different type of resistances. So here R21 is the minimum rotor winding resistance, R22 is greater than R21, and R23 is greater than R22. And here the value of R2, it is also greater than the value of R23. Sometimes it is also possible to draw the torque versus speed characteristics. Here the speed means the speed of the rotor. We know S is equal to Ns minus Nr upon Ns. So when Nr is equal to 0, S will be equal to 1, and when Nr is equal to Ns, S will be 0. So the torque versus speed characteristics is just the mirror image of torque versus slip characteristics. So this is the torque versus speed characteristics of a three-phase induction motor that can be easily drawn from torque versus slip characteristics. That's all. Thank you.